Welcome to Goodwin Law Unplugged, Florida real estate and more. This podcast features candid insight from real estate industry professionals from all sectors. Your host, attorney Matthew Goodwin, a native Floridian and experienced real estate attorney, will provide his personal insight on legal matters and feature other professionals offering their candid advice. Whether you're a first-time homebuyer, seasoned investor, or experienced real estate agent, there is something for everyone. Thanks for joining us on Goodwin Law Unplugged.
Hey there, this is Charlie McDermott, the producer of the Goodwin Law Unplugged podcast. The good news is we have Matt Goodwin in the studio here with us today. Matt, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for being a part of the show. It is your show, after all. It's good you showed up. But more importantly, the topic today, fraud in real estate transactions. I understand this is happening quite a lot, and I'm thrilled you're going to cover this topic. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you, Matt, and fill us in.
All right. So in a nutshell, cyber criminals are stealing large sums of money, and they're targeting real estate transactions primarily by intercepting emails and sending sophisticated and very convincing emails that appear to be from your real estate agent, a broker, including a mortgage broker or real estate broker, attorneys, title companies, lenders, and any other involved in the real estate transaction. The criminals are intercepting wire transfer instructions. They're obtaining account information, and all they're doing is altering some of the data used in these emails that would otherwise come from the title company or the real estate professional to convince buyers and sellers and others to redirect the money to a fraudulent account. There's a term called the BEC scam, business email compromise scam. If you search the internet for that, you'll find the FBI's website as one of the top hits. I mean, it's all over.
Really? Wow. That's insane. I had no idea. So I've seen these emails. I'll get like a GoDaddy email or a ton of other big brands, and I cannot get over how authentic they look. And it's not until I look at the sender and I realize that the email is a little off than what the actual company, GoDaddy in this case, would use as an email. But what you're saying is the email, they're swiping from my email box and modifying it to make it appear like it's the title company or whatever sender. Is that it?
They're spoofing the real people, the
Okay.
real participants, and they're doing a couple different things. But one of the primary is having a real estate agent or a title agent or a real estate professional click on a link, a phishing link that creates an auto forward of their incoming emails, or something else where they can spoof it. And what makes these emails most sophisticated and convincing is when they've already hacked into somebody's email by redirecting them, and they're monitoring the conversations. So they know when the closing date is fast approaching. They know when it's time to send the money, or at least they have a roundabout idea within a week or two's time. We've had incidents where the closing was not for another week or two. Buyer gets an email supposedly from us and says, please wire your funds for closing. The amount that they suggested they wire was completely arbitrary in that case. This was a couple of years ago. And the buyer called us and said, I got this email from you. I thought it was a little soon to be sending the wire, and come to find out it was not from us. And what they're doing is if they get to an email chain where the realtors are copied on, which they want to be copied on everything, and some of the best realtors are very engaged in the entire transactions, and emails the primary form of communication. They will copy and paste a signature from someone in our office because we were sent an email or copied, and the real estate agents are not as vigilant as the ones handling the money, us, the title company, and the real estate the settlement provider. So they're much more vulnerable. I have a prediction, and it's not something I want to happen. It's something that I foresee happening, and I'll explain to you why. I think they're going to start targeting the general public, if they haven't already, without having a real estate agent involved, perhaps either for a refinance or something else where they can get their way into the transaction and then start manipulating other things such as fraudulent payoff statements for mortgages. And I think they're going to, there's been numerous data breaches. And if you have been the victim of one, or let's say, if you haven't been the victim of a data breach, you probably haven't been buying anything in this country for the last 2 years. Wow. Because all these big outfitters, I mean, Target, everybody heard about Target. There's password providers. All they don't even need a privacy breach, so to speak, to get access to your email and password, because they just have to try a bunch of combinations based on lists that they purchase, either from email forwarding lists for marketing, and then the password list that they get on the black market from these data breaches.
A password list.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you, about almost 25 years ago from today, we were using computers, and I had a friend, won't say his name, but he used to be part of these groups where they weren't really hacker groups. Like, he wasn't a hacker, but it was how to get pirated software and information on the black internet market. And then we're talking mid-90s, mid to late 90s. Imagine how much more sophisticated. And I remember seeing him once. He went through, it was like a password bot where all you had to do was click a button to install this executable file, and it would try 3 million password combinations. I'm just giving you a random number, but that was 25 years ago. The processing speed is incredible now, where, and the data is available. So you don't know usually until it's too late. We have been involved in a couple of different transactions where fraud was prevalent. In one case, a couple of years back, there were wiring instructions that were sent to us from someone that we work with, and the email address was masked. So it was that's what spoofing is called, where it looks like it was from them, but it wasn't. And funds were redirected and thankfully recovered because of our vigilance and our processes when it comes to find these things. And now what's happening is the hackers and the criminals are getting smarter. And one thing they're doing is targeting payoffs. Another thing they're doing is finding sellers of owners of vacant land or deceased people, see what they own property, and they're impersonating them altogether. They're doing listings on Zillow, off market, no realtors involved. Someone wants to buy a piece of land in Florida. They find a good deal. They deal electronically and by phone with this person. They never meet them. And that's kind of where it starts. What the buyers should be suspecting of is any email, period. And there's some specific keywords and triggers you should look for, but there's also some things that you should do to make sure it never happens to you at your fault. And one of those is, if you're buying or in the pending a transaction, either for a purchase or sale, question everything, but question, more importantly, exchange of money. Because it's one thing for them to get access to your system and to look at it and say, all right, it's time for them to send their money and reach out to them now. But it's another thing for you to do something further. So, and what that is call the title company to verify that they're the ones that sent you. I promise you that is going to stop almost 100% of the likelihood that you wire to the wrong company. And it's just as simple as a phone call. So when we send our wiring instructions out at the outset of a transaction, we haven't spoke to this person yet, we'll leave the last 3 digits of the account number off, which requires them to call us. But that's not enough. That's just one of the things that we do. One of the most important things is for the general public to be aware of it. And if you're only hearing of the random news stories, you're not really opening your eyes to what's happening on a larger scale. It's happening all across the state of Florida. Florida is a huge target. So if you're buying or selling real estate, wiring money's involved, call the company, but more importantly, search on a public directory for the number and make sure you get it at the outset of the transaction, because the criminals are smarter than you when it comes to this thing, and they will put another phone number in these emails. Say,
I was
call us. So you can't just
yeah.
rely on calling them, right?
Oh
You
man.
have to make sure you're calling the right person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That brings to mind, and it wasn't wire fraud at the time. I forget what it was, some scam. And I called the number in the email, and it was kind of ridiculous because you could it was a gentleman with a very heavy accent, and he was in a boiler room. People talking in the background. You could tell there was probably 50 people making phone calls, and I was kind of laughing at the guy, like, dude, if you want to scam someone, you got to at least put yourself in a private room. I mean, this
or at
is
least some noise canceling headphones, right?
oh man,
Yeah,
but
filter out that noise with that boom mic, whatever. Yeah, I agree. I've had the same thing happen where you can hear all the commotion in the back and it's like, wait, what are you calling me for again? My credit card information to verify it? Sure. Let me
oh, and let me give
get
you my
that for
social
you, right?
security number. Why are you just so you don't have to call me back later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fraud and you can almost expect to be um threatened with a phishing email or something if you're buying or selling real estate. If you don't expect it, then you won't be able to recognize it when it comes through. So, from the title company, real estate lawyer's perspective, when we get an email from someone, we scrutinize every single email we get, and there's ones that are easy to recognize when let's say a lender is sending us something that would otherwise come from a title company, or perhaps us, that we would send to somebody as the closing agent. We know that's a phishing email, and we delete it. And we have spam filters that filter out about 85 to 90% of the fake stuff,
Hmm.
but they're getting through, and they do get through some pretty sophisticated and convincing emails where you would really have to be trained to know that somebody's up to something. Don't click on the link, don't open attachments. And that's another point. Don't open attachments and don't click on links, because remember what I said, they're going to start targeting the general public if they haven't already. And I think they're going to, you know, you got enough people out there that are buying and selling real estate without realtors.
Hmm.
You still have the title company, but if the title company's got their email on lockdown, and they're not going to fall for any scams, and their policies and procedures are on point, and there's no agents involved, then the only vulnerable party in that is the lender and the borrowers. And I can tell you the lenders are definitely targeted. Don't get me wrong. But if the borrower is doing preliminary research, then they're the ones that become vulnerable. They track their communication, and then they get access to everybody else's. So all you have to do, you may have heard that you should never forward a chain letter, because the only purpose of a chain letter is to capture email addresses. Think about it. It's not
Hmm.
public. Send this to all your friends, copy everybody, and we're going to give you something, or you're going to get something, or you're not going to self-destruct. Your computer's not going to, and
Yeah.
then nothing ever comes of it. Then you just get another chain letter. Those chain letters are capturing email addresses, period. That's all it is.
Hmm.
So every time I get one from my 95-year-old grandmother, I just ignore it. I smile. She doesn't send as much as she used to, but that brings me to another point. The public, when it comes to fraud, they're targeting seniors. There's a lot of seniors
Hmm.
in Florida. If and there's a lot of seniors in Florida, seniors. Okay, we're
Hmm.
not talking 65 and up. We're talking 85 and up. And these are
Hmm.
the people that did not grow up with email and that are very trusting.
Yeah.
But they've also been more accustomed than we are to telemarketing scams. So, but my 90, she's not quite 95, but I rounded up a little. My 90-something-year-old grandmother, who lives in Port Charlotte, got a call from my sister, who was not really my sister, who's her granddaughter. She only has one, and told her that she needed to be bailed out of jail, And my grandmother went to the bank, 2 different banks. I'm giving you the short version. Went to 2 different banks, withdrew, I don't know, it was 10,000 or a little bit more. And thankfully she didn't give it away, because they tried to get somebody from a bail bonds office come to her house, and she called the bail bonds office, and they said, we don't do appointments after 5 o'clock, and hers was set for 6. That was all it took for her to catch it right before it was too late. And this was cash. Some of the banks are getting smarter when people withdraw money, especially seniors. They're asking, what is this for? Yeah. That's why they're protecting their clients and customers' money, just like we're doing the things to protect our buyers and sellers and our customers and our clients' money. If the number one way to prevent this is communication and educating the public at large on the issue itself. We have disclosures. People don't read them anymore. We have big bold face print, verify your wiring instructions. We never change our wiring instructions. Most, if not, I don't know any title company that will ever change their wiring instructions during the pendency of a transaction. They will always close with the one that they started with, where escrow was opened. That's a really good point that I want to drive home. I'll say it again. It's so important. Title companies and real estate law firms will never change their wiring instructions during the pendency of a transaction. So if you make a deposit and you get wiring instructions, and then you get another one saying we changed our account, it's fraud, guaranteed. Because when it comes to bookkeeping, we don't transfer deposits on our books for an open we change bank accounts. I've actually changed twice in the last 6 years. But when I change, we close out all the pending business with the old account. We're smarter than that, but we're also required to do that for administrative and record keeping purposes. Right. So that's important.
Whew. I talk about an eye opener. One, again, as I said in the beginning, I had no idea how prevalent this was. I mean, it's one of those, you see it happening, but you tend to discount it, and to be aware of this during a transaction. It's so easy to get spoofed, as you said. So the moral of the story is, in a real estate transaction, it sounds like always call your attorney or title company and talk to that person. Look up their phone number. If you don't have it written down, ignore the phone number that's in the email. Yes. Did I get that right?
Okay. Yes. What we do and we say, verify our number online. Here's our website. Just go there, and that's going to be one surefire way. Use the number that's on the contract.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't think there's any cases where the realtor was impersonated when writing up a contract and went far back as putting in a fake number. That's a different kind of fraud. That's theft. That's there's a lot more. That's identity theft. There's a lot more going on there. The easier fraud is to just blast out as many emails and see who bites.
Yeah.
That's why they call them phishing emails.
Yeah.
We're the fish. If you bite on one of their links or their attachments, your computer becomes vulnerable. Your email correspondence are all jeopardized. What we do is we educate people from the outset. We make sure they know we never change our wiring instructions. We tell them to call us. We do as much as we can. We have internal controls that will flag things. If somebody in my organization clicks on a link that they fall for the phishing attempt, and there's an auto forward created, I get an alert from our security software that says there's been a change of the exchange settings on this user account. Yeah. So we have different things that will notify us. It's the public that's vulnerable. So that's who this message is for today.
Yeah. So in general, don't click on links. Don't download attachments. If they look fishy, they probably are. And pick up the phone and call.
Yeah, and there's more. Don't send personal information such as bank account numbers or other non-public information via unsecured email or other electronic communication, and never wire transfer money without personally speaking with the known intended recipient to verify the routing and account numbers, period.
Awesome. Well, Matt, this has been great. Really appreciate you spending time with us and sharing this message, and look forward to the next episode.
Me too. Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks for listening to Goodwin Law Unplugged. To learn more about Goodwin Law and to utilize our services, visit GoodwinEstatelaw.com or call 239-207-3403. Hablamos Espanol. To submit questions or be a guest on a future episode, message us on our website or on social media by searching for Goodwin Law PA in Naples, Florida. This has been Goodwin Law Unplugged. Thanks again for joining us.